You're watching the Three Angry Giant Fans podcast brought to you by Scott, Giant, Mike and Cardone. We're sponsored by Manscaped.com. Use code AGRYMAN to get a 20% discount and free shipping. And download our audio podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
So there's the reaction to Daniel Jones being picked in 2019, and what they said on draft night came true. Daniel Jones faced adversity on the field, and it served him well, especially in this past year when he finally started to blossom, and he was rewarded with a new contract.
Yeah,
Danny Dimes.
Glowing recommendation there from the ESPN staff.
So before we get into anything, there are a lot of changes. We're in year 4 of the Three Angry Giant Fans, and we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jets fan with us. So Novak is now a permanent member of the podcast.
All right.
Love to have Novak.
Appreciate it. I've parlayed a fandom into a recurring role. I'm like the Joe Beningo of the podcast world.
We had some off-season meetings and figured the Giants had a pretty good season. They won a playoff game on the road, so we got to find someone angrier than us. So we went scouting for Jet fans, and I think we came up with a great one.
I don't know that I'm angry. I'm definitely sadder than all three of you. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
especially what's been transpired in the off-season. I mean, we got a lot to get into. There's no doubt about it.
I'm having a tough time trying to decide if you're a dejected Jets fan, disgruntled Jet fan, an angry Jet fan. There's a lot of adjectives that can be used here.
It depends on the day. I would say mostly angry, but I've been sad quite a bit, especially in this offseason.
So it's like Newman on Seinfeld. Like you peppered him in early in like some of the early seasons, and then it worked really well. We got a lot of laughs. It's we got a lot of good feedback, and now it's like what we need to put Novak in the credits. He's part of the show now.
Hello,
I became annoying enough to you guys that I parlayed it into a recurring role. I'm so happy. Thank you for including me. I enjoy it, and I'm glad to be part of the team.
It's a great synergy.
Don't worry, Giant fans. I won't take over. I promise you that.
It is a great synergy because we do have a lot of Jet fan listeners. So the changes for season 4, we've added Novak. We're going to have a Jet section. I'm sure we're going to have some spirited discussion about the dick, Aaron Rodgers. And we've dropped Manscaped. So Manscaped ghosted us. We tried to send in for our royalties and got no response back. So I think the three of us all got a good kit out of it. Novak spent some money and he got some equipment. We've all liked our stuff, but Manscaped is no longer one of our sponsors.
They'll be back. Don't you worry. They'll be calling us. Jet Nation is big on Manscaped.
We're taking applications for new ones. That's all.
Absolutely.
They're lining up right now.
And we will probably have a name and logo change coming up before the season starts. And one of my friends, Jet fan Ogre, he recommended that we call ourselves the Met Death Mafia, which I thought's great, but it may not be catchy enough for everyone to understand. So maybe it's a byline. It's the Three Angry Giant Fans, a Jet fan, and the Met Death Mafia. The Met Death Mafia.
I don't hate it.
I think it works.
Covers it. All right. So before we get into everything that's gone on in the offseason, draft preview, season preview, all of that, let's give a shout out to a listener from the last podcast. So the last podcast we did was recapping the Super Bowl. This is one that hits home near the Jersey guys. So hello, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. 20 miles from Trenton, 25 miles from Philly, population 8,300 in Bucks County. And in 1745, William Doyle opened up a tavern. So the whole adage about the guy that opens up the bar gets the town name for him seems to work quite a bit back in that day.
Absolutely.
And it also was the home of Scott Green, who, for Giant fans, should know who this is. He's the former back judge who penalized Rich Subert in the game against the 49ers, and for incorrectly penalizing him for being illegally downfield, he was, guess what, promoted to referee the next year, and he stayed a referee for the following 12, 13 years.
I swear that's on the checklist of things that get you moved to referee. It's all right. Okay, good job. You screwed the Giants. All right, that's the last one. You filled in all your boxes.
It took me. I just regained consciousness from that game like a short time ago. So I passed out was out for like a decade and a half. But so I don't really quite remember the name. I certainly remember the play.
I mean,
Cypher.
I have got a lot of work to do if I'm going to keep up with you guys about knowing the back judge from a game. How many years ago?
Oh, we have
the prerequisite for being.
That was
part of this
2002. That's Scott for you right there. I mean, this guy.
Oh my God.
Well, his disdain and just bile for officials in this league is just unparalleled by anybody I've ever met. It's
really
outstanding. It's incredible. Don't even try. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't keep up.
No.
I can't say I was sad when Johnny Greer died.
God.
Oh, by the way, Doylestown's also the home of Pink.
Very good.
Oh,
All right.
Wow.
Did not know that. Where you
The
go?
color pink?
the singer Pink.
Oh.
Pink with an exclamation point, I guess you'd call it.
Is old Billy Dow, whatever, is it still there? The pub?
William Doyle? The
Yeah.
Doylestown pub?
Billy Doyle. Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's mainstay. You don't shut down the taverns back in that day.
No, you definitely
They
don't.
become national landmarks.
Not if you name your town after it.
So Novak, we're going to
Yeah.
talk to you first. All the stuff going on with the Dick. I mean, is he a Jet? Is he not a Jet? Is he in a dark room still? Is he a Packer? Is he in Wisconsin? Is he in California? Where the fuck is this guy?
So I'm going to say that I'm as annoyed by this storyline as you guys are, right? Because you can't turn on any sports radio, TV show without someone mentioning the Dick and where is he? What is he doing? What's the situation? And honestly, I can't decide through this whole process. I mean, he's going to be a Jet. And at the end of the day, that's going to happen. And if it doesn't, where is their plan B? They got nothing else. Everyone else was taken up. Everyone else was scooped up. There is nothing other than the Dick or Zach Wilson. And either, I mean, that is not a good plan B. But at the end of the day, I can't decide if the Jets have the upper hand here or the Packers have the upper hand. And I switch from day to day to day. I thought the Jets did until Joe Douglas opened his mouth on Friday. I don't know if you saw this at a Boomer Esiason event that they had Friday night. They were all drunk, and Joe Douglas, this crowd is screaming out, "What's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers?" He said, "He's coming, don't worry." Did you just tell the Packers what your plan was, and now you've lost all leverage, morons?
So is the Dick still undecided in what he wants to do? Is that what's
so? He is decided. He has said publicly on the Pat McAfee show he wants to play for the Jets, which no one ever says, obviously. So the fact that he wants to play for the Jets is great, but the trade hasn't happened. I think what's going on is I think it's going to happen right before the draft. I think that the Jets, it's a game of chicken at this point. The Jets are saying, we're not giving up our number one draft choice. The Packers want the number one draft choice. And at the end of the day, the Packers need draft picks. And they traded away Elijah Moore for a second-round pick. I think that they did that so they can give the Packers that pick. Great, let's do that. Let's make a conditional pick next year. If he gets to the AFC Championship Super Bowl, fine, we'll give him a number one pick next year, or it's going to be a third-round pick. If he retires, it's going to be a fourth or a fifth, something like that. But that's my response to it.
Because not being obviously a Jet fan, Novak, I was, I'm reading here, a dark retreat is a practice open to those who are called to dive deeply within themselves and rest in undisturbed meditation for many hours a day for multiple days. So if someone's doing that and comes out of that retreat and still doesn't know what the fuck they want to do, I mean, how is that possible?
Well, it just goes to show you that he had to go and sit in darkness for 5 days to decide he actually wanted to be a Jet. So that is the level we're dealing with here, because no one wants to come here and play for the Jets. He does. And they got weapons, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think he's gonna be a Jet. There's no doubt about it.
So who have the Jets added now to help him? Has Martellus Bennett come through? Is it Alan Lazard?
Donald Driver is
Mercedes
coming.
Lewis is still in the league.
Antonio
they've
Freeman.
added Alan Lazard. They tried to add Odell Beckham. They're talking about Mercedes Lewis, the guy. What is he, like 100 years old?
Mercedes Lewis has been in the league longer than Dave Meggett.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he gave him a list of players that he wanted, supposedly. How pathetic is that we got to cater to this guy? And at the end of the day, I could give a shit. I just want them to be good, and he's our best chance to be good. So yeah, I mean they've added quite a bit of players in the offseason, but they've lost a bunch too. So we can get into that later, I'm sure.
He did deny the list, didn't he?
I don't
Novak,
buy
did
that. I
did I
mean,
hear that? You
he
don't
did
buy it?
deny it, but come on, where there's smoke, there's fire. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
all of a sudden they went out and wanted to get Alan Lazard. I mean, Lazard's a good player. I get that, but I don't know. Something is a little. And look, he definitely said something like maybe those are good players to have. I don't think he said I'm not coming there unless I get these guys, but he definitely weighed in on that. He had to have.
Yeah, that's a good point.
From the dark room.
From the dark room.
Right.
This has been the most annoying process. Like, at what point is the commissioner going to get involved in this thing too? Right? Like everyone's talking about it. Is there not tampering issues here? They're talking about him being a Jet. How is that not a problem? He's not. He's on their roster.
I thought we were going to avoid the Dick. I mean, I know we beat him as you know the Giant fan base. We took him down in London last year. So having figuring out he's going to end up somewhere else other than Green Bay. It's like because Green Bay's on our schedule and the Jets are on our schedule next year. We play the AFC East and we play the Green Bay Packers. I'm like, oh, we don't have to worry about the Dick next year. And now we have to again. We still have to with this guy.
Until he tears his ACL.
No, he's still a problem. Let's be honest. He is.
Yeah.
What's that?
He'll tear his ACL in the first quarter. Don't worry about it. That's
no, it's the clavicle. Usually the clavicle by week 5.
The clavy. Yeah.
So speaking of off-season moves, the Giants have actually been really active. I'll just going to run down the list and then we'll talk about this. Guys that are in: center J.C. Hassenhauer, wide receiver former Jet Jamison Crowder, cornerback Amani Oruwani, yeah, he's from the Lions. Tight end Tommy Sweeney. That's a nice Irish name, easier to pronounce. Defensive back Bobby McCain, cornerback Leonard Johnson, and then wide receivers galore. Paris Campbell from the Colts, Jeff Smith, who I think was with the Jets as well. Tight end Darren Waller, of course, in the trade from the Raiders. Linebacker Bobby Okerke from the Colts, really solid. And defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches. The people that are gone: Richie James is signed with the Chiefs, wide receiver. Henry Mondo is with the Jags, the defensive tackle. Then we lost the offensive lineman John Feliciano to the Niners and Nick Gates to the Redskins. And then Julian Love went to the Seahawks. So a lot of in and out there. And the big news today, of course, Barkley is not going to sign his tender or his whatever what do they call it?
Tag.
The franchise tag. So he will not be eligible to start the workouts when they begin next week.
That's a long list of names there, Scott. I was waiting for you to call Francis Sawyer for a moment, a.k.a. Psycho. from Sergeant Holka's platoon there. I was waiting for Sawyer.
Don't call me Psycho. No, don't call me Francis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie, you guys call me Francis again.
I mean, you guys got to love that Darren Waller pickup. I think that's a
great trade.
Tremendous trade.
By the way, the third rounder we got from Kadarius Toney trade turned into Waller.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can stay healthy, you've got a top 5 tight end in the league, right?
Yep.
I mean, tremendous. Well done there.
Yeah, that was the most exciting. The most excited I've been so far, other than Jones signing. To be quite honest, I know we'll talk about Daniel Jones signing because a lot of mixed conversation about that that I've had with Giant fans actually, in terms of what the Giants are paying him versus what they think he's worth and that kind of thing. But as far as newcomers, Waller, I think it was just Novak. You just said it. Great. It's a great sign for the Giants. That's a great target for Jones. Obviously in the red zone, but really anywhere on the field, that guy has been proven to be a pretty go-to guy with I almost said Oakland, with the Raiders there. But so that's a great sign, great pickup. So glad to see that. And then the guy Bobby, how do you pronounce? I'm glad you.
I think it's Okerke.
I was gonna say Ocracoke or something. So I don't know. Isn't that like isn't that a beach town or something?
It's a beach town in North Carolina.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Ocracoke Beach or something. Anyway, I'll just call him Ocracoke. But that's another. He's filling a need there on the defensive side of the ball. So. But a couple of good pickups, man. The Giants, they've been active in the offseason, which is what you want, and we just want
active, but not breaking the bank.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of signings in here. You guys just mentioned them that remind me of of the low fanfare, high value signings of guys like Antonio Pierce. No one cared when we signed Antonio Pierce from the Redskins. And that guy turned out to be, the centerpiece of a Super Bowl defense. So, I'm not saying this is a Super Bowl defense or anything like that, of course, but just a lot of names on this list kind of call back to that sort of name. Guys who've been solid elsewhere in the league, and the Giants brought him in kind of on the cheap and added him to an already fairly talented team. And the guys, hopefully that can find a way to shine for us there.
Novak, on the Jets side, any moves that stand out to you, positive or negative?
I was kind of joking with Alan Lazard, but I think he's a solid number 2 wide receiver. I'm excited about that. They got the center from the Redskins, Schweitzer. I don't know much about him, candidly. You guys might know more than I do, but he seems like he's a good piece to have. And at this point, we're adding depth. And we'll talk about this when we get to the draft, but finally, for the first time, and I can say probably 10, 15 years, they're adding pieces for depth, not for must-have starters, which is, that's a big change in the culture of the organization when you can finally start adding depth pieces. So they added him. They added Quentin Jefferson, the defensive lineman from the Seahawks, and Mecole Hardman as a replacement for Elijah Moore. Again, much like the Giants, nothing that broke the bank. They didn't overreach. They didn't overspend. They didn't, I was not a fan of the Odell Beckham flirtation, so to speak. But I thought that the signings that they've had have been solid, and they've lost a few. They lost Braxton Berrios, who I did like. They traded Elijah Moore. They lost Sheldon Rankins, a big cog in the defensive line. And there's still a bunch of free agents still out there that haven't been signed, like LaMarcus Joyner, Quan Alexander on the linebacking core. But I think we'll wait and see how the draft plays out. They have some holes they need to fill. But like I said, it's depth adds, which is so different and so refreshing from where they've been for, I can't remember how long, where they were just adding pieces to fill gaping holes in either the offense or the defense. So I'm pretty excited.
I think one thing that united both of our fan bases is the take on Odell Beckham. The talk about him coming back to the Giants, I'd be happy to have the guy on the cheap, but when he wants $15 million a year at this stage of his career with all the injuries that have piled up, it really doesn't make sense to me. And the other thing is the guy just brings drama with him. We don't need the drama.
Yeah. Well, he made that one-handed catch as a rookie, so, he's worth $15 million.
When the Giants were like that was a 4-win season. They lost that game, which I love too. It's not that
they did,
but that's
they lost.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's when they were losing. Every 20. They were winning 5 games a year for 5 straight years.
Sunday night game.
Yeah,
against Dallas. Yeah.
So he signed with Baltimore, right? Is that what I saw?
Yep.
Odell Beckham.
Ravens.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I don't know who's going to throw to
now?
him, but he signed with Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pro Bowler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley or whatever his name was.
Pro Bowler.
Pro Bowler. Good God.
That is the NFL is currently the only league that gives a participation trophy. That's what the Pro Bowl is now. Hey, you were picked as the 18th best quarterback in the NFL, but no one else wants to play in this nonsense. So you're a Pro Bowler now.
What do they do now? Frisbee golf or something like that? I don't even know what the events are. Isn't it something? What do they do? Frolf, as Costanza would say. Frolf, Jerry.
I watched a little bit of it. I was like, is this my dad's company picnic from the 70s? I mean, they're throwing eggs at each other? I mean, what the?
Dodgeball was particularly interesting. They had dodgeball going on. They had like mini golf. I think they had long driving contest.
Yeah, I was at the Columbia Mutual Life Insurance company party circa 1978 out at Cole Park.
So looking forward to the draft. What are you guys? What are you looking for the top pick? What do you think we're gonna have in terms of filling out the roster? Any targets in mind?
I'll go first because I probably have a different answer than everybody else. Again, we need interior offensive linemen, guys. It's the third year or fourth year, whatever this is on the show now. This is the third or fourth year I'm saying it. You know, I can't. I said it last year. I said it the year before. I can't fathom. You know, we got Thomas. That was great. And then, looks like, what's his name? The right tackle. Neil. I mean, he's not coming on as strong as Thomas, but, so I know we have addressed the offensive line. I'm not saying we haven't, but it's still a problem. It's still a problem. We can't go into the season with the offensive line we have now, in my opinion. And I don't think we will. But there's a brutal center sitting out there from Minnesota, John Michael Schmitz, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only seen him on the Giants mock draft list a couple of times, but that would be my target. I just can't believe after the signings we've made and people seem to be picking wide receiver for us, but with the signings we've made and the draft capital we've already poured into this position, I can't fathom going wide receiver again, but that seems to be where it's headed.
What I see with the wide receivers is that it's a shallow class. So you have a couple guys at the top, and then after that it flattens out pretty well. I agree with you. We need interior linemen. So the positions I was targeting for the draft, the interior line, defensive backfield, whether it's a cornerback or safety, more depth on the defensive line or on edge, and then at wide receiver. And I do have us looking at guys like Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison in the first round, just because I think if you don't pick a wide receiver there, you'll lose a lot of value going into rounds 2 and 3, just from the quality of the player, and where there's still some decent interior alignment that you might be able to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. But it sounds unsexy, but I can't disagree with Mike on the interior offensive lineman. We've been dealing with this, just underperforming is the best word I can come up with, offensive line for a few years, and it all starts up front, guys, right? We know that. So, but then it's weird because then you look at you look at the Philadelphia Eagles last year, and they have one of the best, interior offensive lines in football. But they went out and got, A.J. Brown, with the trade, and then, they drafted Devontae Smith. So they got a lot of good talent at that position. So you're right. Do we go if a Jordan Addison is there? And, it's so funny when you're looking at the draft board in the order, the Giants, who we all know hadn't made, Novak, we'll get to the Jets in a second here because they haven't made the playoffs since the Nixon administration, I think. But
wow.
But the Giants haven't been in the playoffs since 2016, and all of a sudden, when you go down the draft board, you're looking like, well, where are they? Where are they? Like, holy shit, you make the playoffs one year, we don't fucking draft till 25th. It's like we're so used to having a single digit next to our name. Like, oh man, we got the pick of the litter here. We're gonna be picking 6th, 2nd, 7th, 9th, whatever. You scroll down, you make one little fucking wild card appearance, and all of a sudden you're down there on the bottom of the draft board in the first round. You're like, holy shit, where are we? So we're drafting 25th. I don't know. Do you go? It's one of those again. Do the Giants go best available? I hate this draft strategy stuff, but it's just best available, or do you go with really specific positional needs? And that you can't have enough offensive line, and I still think we need, maybe the defensive backfield. We definitely need an edge rusher to add to the roster. So it's kind of the same old. I feel like with the last couple of years with the Giants and what their needs are on draft day. It's the same thing.
So Novak, with the situation the Jets are in, if they don't sign Rodgers, do they pivot and go quarterback, or are you looking at this draft from a Rodgers is locked in, or if he's not, we're sticking with Wilson and we're going to roll the dice?
I think I think you have to go into it assuming that Rodgers is locked in, and if Rodgers doesn't work out, yes, I think sadly we're going to have to roll with Zach Wilson. They're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. And Cardone is right. So the Jets, once the Sacramento Kings tip off in a couple of days, the Jets will officially be the longest playoff drought in all of professional sports.
Yeah.
So, yes, the Sacramento Kings were the only ones left. They made the playoffs, and they haven't played yet. So unless something happens between now and when they tip off in a few days, the Jets now have the longest drought in all of sports.
What is it, Novak? 2011 or 10?
2010.
There's not a baseball team that hasn't made it since then?
Can you believe that? No,
Jesus.
That is 100% true.
Wait, not even a Seattle. I thought the Mariners were. Oh no, wait, they
just made
the last year.
They made it last year. So that's right. The Mariners, because it was before that they had gone a crazy long, I don't know how many years for them.
But I
But
think
okay,
about
I
things
forgot
like
that they were in it last year.
the Winnipeg Jets, guys like that. I mean, hell, they're making it.
Apparently, I've seen the stat a million times because everyone talks about it.
Yeah,
Sacramento Kings were the last ones.
it's the Jets
But
now.
it's now with
Shit.
the Jets. So,
Yeah.
and they're going to make the playoffs this year. I'm saying it right now because Rodgers is going to be a Jet. They need to fill some holes in the offensive line. And Mike, I would have been so upset if you said anything but the offensive line when you were asked that question. But the Jets, same thing. I think they need a tackle. Mekhi Becton, if he plays, great. But we can't count on that. He's been hurt for the last 2 years. The guy is just a mountain of a man. He gets hurt very easily. Paris Johnson from Ohio State, Broderick Jones from Georgia. They're not going to get the Skoronski guy from Northwestern. He's going to go in the top 10. But when's the last time a Jet or a Giant team was not drafting in the top 10? What, 20 years?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, for the last 6 or so, one of them has been in the bottom of the barrel. I mean, I think two of them were in the running for the worst record for the last 6 years running. So
yeah, we've been as teams
they were tied.
Get their 3, 4, and 5 wins a year. They've been passing each other on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they're going to go depth for offensive line. I can't see them going any other direction. The only other area of weakness that they have is outside linebacker, so I can see that. But I don't, look, I'd be lying if I were to tell you that I knew who the best, outside linebacker was, other than the one that's, what's his name, that's being, looked at as taking number 1. But yeah, I mean, that's the only other position of need. Safety, I guess I could put that in there, but you're really going to take a safety at 13 unless you're Jamal Adams. I mean, when that was the mistake they made 5 years ago or whatever that was. So I think that's the direction the Jets are going.
Jamal Adams was a hell of a player, but then he wanted to leave.
Yeah, and that's why Joe Douglas is a great GM. That was a tremendous trade. We got 2 first-rounders, a player, and a third-rounder for Jamal Adams, and he hasn't played a down basically for the Seahawks. So well done, Joe Douglas.
Yeah, nice.
I'm not even going to go into a rant about the media now because I'm probably going to save that for a pet peeve. But it's funny watching, we're all in Carolina, so we're all in the Charlotte area, watching the reaction of actual people who know football, wondering what the fuck the Panthers have done to trade up with the Bears for the number 1 pick versus listening to the media going, it's so exciting to be in Carolina. They have the number 1 pick. Yeah, you just mortgaged your future for one of the most mediocre QB classes in recent memory.
Yeah, I mean, who do you guys think they're taking?
I think they're taking Stroud,
right?
I think they're taking Stroud, but you never know. I just think you go with Stroud because he's got more of the measurables, and I'm doing the air quotes for those that can't see us on YouTube. But I just don't know how you go with Bryce Young. I guess you could. It's another Kyler Murray pick, I think.
Yeah, it's along those lines. I mean, Stroud, I'll admit, I hate Ohio State quarterbacks, and I think with good reason. I mean, we've seen these last few years, these guys come up and be complete bust, top 10 draft picks, right? I guess in our guy's
Justin
case,
Fields,
Fields, and the guy who stepped in front of a bus, and the dump truck, whatever it was. Yeah. So I just
was
think
an MVP candidate, but yeah, go ahead, Mike. Please press on. Yeah,
there's a system there that's churning out these quarterbacks. Now, to my naked eye, Stroud looks a little different. I will definitely say that, but I would be scared. I would be scared because those guys, those other guys that we know all about, looked like great quarterbacks coming into the NFL too.
Yeah.
But what motivation do you have to move from where the Panthers were, where they could have gotten a quarterback? Maybe it's Will Levis, but they could get a quarterback, to going all the way up to number 1, giving up a bunch of number 1 picks and trading away your best wide receiver to get a quarterback who now can't throw to anyone.
Because they were sitting at 9, I think, right?
Yeah.
The Panthers were at 9. Yeah.
And now you're going to get a quarterback.
Yeah, and I don't know if they could have saved any picks or more maybe by drafting up into the top 5. Where it's a good point. I mean, they gave up number 1 pick capital, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It was a weird thing. I thought it was. At the time I thought it was strange. I couldn't believe they didn't I don't know. I couldn't. I'm speechless at the Carolina Panthers.
It reminds me a bit of Tepper trying to flex his muscles and be like a Daniel Snyder and just say, "Hey, look at us, we're here," at the deficit of helping the team.
That's a great point, and that's kind of where I was trying to go. Thank you very much, Scott. But it does remind me of trading Christian McCaffrey, and everyone said, "Oh, what a great deal for McCaffrey." You didn't get a number one. I'd want a number one. I know people in different places say they did all right in that trade, but if I'm giving up McCaffrey, I want a one. I'm not giving up a 2 and a 3 for Barkley. Arguably McCaffrey might be better. So I don't know. Carolina's done some weird things lately, seemingly for the reason, like you said, Scott, to get a headline.
And they
that
don't really have
doesn't
the
doesn't
room.
involve winning.
They can't make a mistake, too. I mean, the 49ers did that for Trey Lance, and they had the luxury of being able to make that mistake because they're good enough to make that mistake, right? Panthers, they're not. So this one made no sense to me whatsoever. I don't get it.
No. More reason that even though I'm in Carolina, I cannot stand the Carolina Panthers. I'm probably more of a Jets fan than I'm a Panthers fan.
There you go.
Well, AFC, NFC, right?
AFC,
I'll always pull for the AFC team over any other NFC team. Absolutely.
That's a soft spot for a lot of AFC teams. Jets, Bills, teams like that. I don't hate any of them, really. I don't even hate the Patriots. People always hate the Patriots for years because the evil empire and all that. I don't.
We can say we don't. Giant fans. With good reason.
There's a person. There's one of the people in this room might feel a little differently about that.
You guys got anything else before we move on?
I will give a score update from the island.
Yes.
Islanders scored with 3:52 left to go up 4-2.
Love it.
Look at that. Cardone, who was a Devils fan, wearing an Islanders hat.
Well, we discussed this before you came on, I think, Scott, and my allegiance to two different teams in the same sport, which is against my religion, but there's I guess with good reason there. Since when I first started watching hockey, it was the Islanders, since I had some family lived out in Nassau County out there, so it was my first exposure. And then when the Devils showed up in '82, it was my first hockey game in person. They were playing the Minnesota North Stars, which are now the Dallas Stars. So I kind of adopted the Devils but at that time, kind of my second hockey team being Islanders number one. And so now, there's Stanley Cup championships all over the place with both those franchises. So,
well, let's
go Islanders, man.
The Blue Shirts clinched the playoff spot like 2.5 weeks ago. So
yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. They've been sitting there with a little X next to their name for a while.
The fall off from the top three to the wild cards this year is quite steep.
Well, I could take the opportunity now that guys were talking about AFC to ask my question of you guys, which I've been dying to ask you on the podcast.
You're not going to wait till the question segment. You're going to do it now.
Is that okay? I'm shaking the whole freaking thing up, I guess.
You could break
the new guy.
You're a regular now. You could.
Well, the segue was right there, so I had to take advantage of it.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to throw it out to you guys as Giant fans. I'm giving you a hypothetical. You make the playoffs this year as a wild card, and I heard this on the radio the other night. It was a cool question. Give me the path to the Super Bowl championship that would be best for you. The 3 teams in the NFC to beat, and the 1 AFC team that you want to beat to win the Super Bowl. And I know that the 2, you don't even need to answer. It's the Eagles and the Cowboys. What are the other 2?
Honestly, the path that's best for the Giants for me, I'll be honest with you. I want there to be a rash of upsets like it's the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And we maintain home field advantage as long as we can as a wild card. So let's say we play, Arizona in the first round at MetLife Stadium, win that game, then go on the road maybe to Detroit. I'll take that. And then in the championship game, then maybe give me a Washington or something.
You wouldn't want the most satisfying, guaranteed to beat these 4 teams to win a Super Bowl.
We've done that. We did that in 2007 and 2011. So for me, I've already lived that twice. I'm fine with taking an easy road. Just get me to the Super Bowl. Let me play the Texans.
Okay. So for me, I'm taking. I want the Patriots. I want the Dolphins. I want probably the Steelers, and I want to beat the Giants, candidly, in the Super Bowl to exercise the demons of years and years of misery of being in their shadow.
And I can see that from your point of view. You've never beaten the Patriots twice like we have, so it's
No, I have not.
I don't know. I mean, Scott, you make a good point where, like, yeah, you want to see. I love the idea of facing teams that maybe you never faced in the playoffs before. That's kind of cool. And so, well, Giants haven't been there much in the last decade or whatever, but I still like beating the classics. I think, like, I can still see like San Francisco. Like the Giants matched up with San Francisco a number of times back in the 80s, then again in the 90s, and then on our second Super Bowl run with Manning. So I would love to meet San Francisco somewhere and beat their ass again. And then of course you already mentioned Dallas or Philly. Definitely beating one of those. I don't know. I don't really care in what order, like in what round, perhaps. It doesn't really matter. We know Dallas won't be at the NFC Championship game because they haven't been there since '95, so that's impossible. So that'd be more like the wild card, I think.
Yeah, wild card.
And then, and I'm trying to think of other teams that would even be there. Maybe a Seattle, like in a wild card round or something. Beat them at home. But in order to get a home game, though, you got to win the division. That's the whole right. You can't. Wild card, there are no home games for a wild card team unless there's upsets left and right and you get the later round home games. So it's a cool question. I like it. I
love it.
Yeah, I like kind of beating the old, your worst nemesises.
Yeah, I would.
And teams you hate the most. Yeah.
Dallas and Philly. I mean, Novak, you nailed that. That's got to be on everyone's list. I think the spirit of the question here is what, like, your dream run, right? What would a dream run be? Scott went like, no, I want
an easy road. I want.
Yeah, I don't want to sweat these games.
He wants Detroit, Houston. I mean, I
want three forfeits.
My third would probably be the 49ers because of the epic, as Cardone mentioned, sort of the epic battles we've had in the playoffs. But I'll tell you what would be kind of cool too is just to obliterate Justin Fields. So the Bears would not be a bad. I don't like that franchise that much either. And of course, living where I live, beating Carolina in the playoffs would be kind of cool. That would be a nice thing.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl, the dream to keep the sort of dream thing alive would be Kansas City, right? We beat Tom Brady twice and Mahomes. That'd be pretty awesome. But the team that I really want is Baltimore to avenge that loss. That would be
interesting.
Yeah, that's a good one, Mike. I like.
I didn't even pick my Super Bowl opponent. Yeah, I forgot. I kind of left that out. But that's a good one, Mike. I can't copycat that one. But yeah, revenging that Baltimore debacle, which I was at that game. Giants have been in 5 Super Bowls. I go to the one where they get fucking demolished by the Ravens. Unbelievable.
Well, it's funny. I had the prediction here. I said Cardone would say a player that annoys him. So I thought you would say Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. I thought Scott would say an organization that annoys him, like the Panthers. And I thought Mike would say a style of play that annoys him. Like he would break down why their style of play is someone I want to beat.
Yeah, Justin Fields, the Bears. Yeah, you don't even have a quarterback on your roster.
You did say it, Justin Fields. You're exactly the direction I thought you would go.
Yeah. That collective groan you just heard was from the citizens of Philadelphia, or I'm sorry, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as the Islanders now are final and in the playoffs for the
woohoo! Fuck the Penguins.
They can still get the 7 seed, I think, if Florida loses or something. The Panthers, I think they can leapfrog them. So we wouldn't have to play Boston.
I didn't consider that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have to play that juggernaut, the Boston Bruins, in the first round or something, but something like that. I have to look at it.
Yeah, it must be.
The question that Novak asked, it brought back memories because when you look at our 2 Super Bowl runs, the games that get overlooked in that are the opening games we had. If you remember, we played Tampa Bay in one of them, and we played Atlanta in the other. And that Atlanta game was just a complete ass kicking. I think did Atlanta get a field goal or did they get a safety? Was it a? It
was a safety, Scott, and they actually scored first. It was the dreaded 2-run home run early in the game to put Atlanta up. So Atlanta was up 2-0, and the Giants went on to win that game, I believe, 24-2. So yeah.
Yeah,
those two games to me were wholly satisfying because you're watching the game knowing that the Giants have it in the bag. You're not sweating anything. It was exciting to watch us beat Dallas in the one game where, we turned everything around, and then obviously the championship game against Green Bay. And then the following time beating Green Bay and then winning in San Francisco. Which, by the way, this was on Twitter this week, and it is one of those things people forget. If it wasn't for Jaquan Williams and his special teams play against San Francisco, we don't win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you think about guys like that, role players that make an impact on the team.
You got to have those plays from someone that you don't even recognize their name if you're going to win a Super Bowl. You have to. It's going to happen. It's just part of that karma. But yeah,
David Tyree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Scott, that's a great point because those games were both the first game in. People were kind of questioning whether or not the Giants belong, and then both times they go on the road and just smoke another playoff team because the scores weren't outrageous, but the game was one of those ones where, like, it was almost a low-score Grey Goose game. Like, that other team's not doing anything. They're not doing anything. And then the thing I love the most about both of those Super Bowl runs is how Green Bay was favored in both games, and the Giants came out and took it to them. Now, the scores were close in both games. They weren't as close in the second, but, everyone went in Green Bay. It was evident super early on in both of those games. The Giants are the better team on the field today.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw, they're the better team on the field.
Awesome runs.
Yeah.
And speaking of Grey Goose, I'm glad you brought them up, Mike. If someone from Grey Goose is listening, we'd love a new sponsor. And Grey Goose is, I mean, we have plugged that product more times than in 2022. Not that we did, but we didn't really have a lot of Grey Goose games per se. But
we begged for one for weeks. We finally got one.
We did. The playoff clincher was finally the Gooser.
Well, if I were not a Giants fan and I listened to this podcast, if I were a thing of another team, I would have run out and bought a bottle of Grey Goose and said, "This is for Grey Goose games." I think it is the most awesome thing. Just sitting there with the ice cubes clinking.
Yeah, you're just chilling out. Legs are crossed. You're just hanging out. You're not even, you're barely paying attention to the game. Right. You're like, again,
you're talking to your buddy. The other team scores a touchdown. You're like, just fine.
Those are rare. Those are so rare.
If we're talking about Grey Goose, we could look at Mulligan's as a sponsor too, since I will tell you this. I don't know if you guys saw it, the pricing for YouTube came out, and I think it's, if you don't have the YouTube TV service, it's $3.49, I think it is. Or maybe that's $3.49 after $100 discount. And if you have the TV service, it's $2.49 after the $100 discount. So without those discounts, I think you have to act before June 1st or something like that. So you're talking about, if you don't have a discount, close to $500 and close to $400 otherwise. That's steep. And that's the red zone's an additional cost. I was getting used to getting the ticket for free, and then I was using my son's college account to get the college discount for $90 for the last 2 years. So
I think you just admitted a felony on a national.
I don't think it's a felony. It's a loophole. Let's face it. This is not a national broadcast.
That was so Costanza. This is not a felony. It's a loophole at best. Loophole, Jerry.
All right. We're going to kick it over to our new regular to start pet peeves.
Throwing it to me, huh? Yeah, so I have a lot. I have so many, but I'm gonna try to do one that's covers everything. And you guys have probably used this before, but in the spirit of what we're on here to talk about, which is the draft, I'm gonna say that, growing up and into my college years and as a young adult, there was nothing better than Saturday with the draft, right? You get up all day long, draft, and Sunday, fine, they get the later rounds and all of that. This Thursday first round bullshit, and then the second round on a Friday, and then the weekend, I just hate what they've done to the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. It has become the most ridiculous spectacle, much like the Super Bowl. And it's one of the reasons I'm getting tired of the NFL. If it wasn't for the Jets and podcasts and rooting for teams and fantasy football, I would lose so much interest in the sport because I love college so much because of shit like this. I cannot take what they've done to this draft. You know, guys coming up giving bro hugs to what's his name, Goodell. My pet peeve is what the spectacle of the draft has become, and I'm tired of it. I don't like it. I hate the Thursday thing. All of it is just terrible in my mind. I don't know.
Spot on. It's a fucking fashion show too, which drives
Exactly.
me insane. No, I'm seriously. I was already like tonight. I was watching something, and they were showing the catwalk or whatever, the red carpet from last year's draft. I'm like, this is nuts. They're already and all they were highlighting was what guys were wearing as they're walking up to the freaking stage. It drives me nuts. No, Novak, you're spot on, dude. We've talked about it, I think, but the entertainment. No, I mean, but I don't know if we've specifically talked about the Thursday night, venue now or time slot, but no, it's so true. It's everything, the entertainment world that has overlapped now with, particularly the NFL, but really all the professional sports. It's getting harder and harder to watch, man. I mean, that's why I've watched more college football. Growing up an NFL fan, I didn't watch a lot of college football growing up in New Jersey because there really wasn't a team there.
You know, watch Rutgers.
Exactly. So it's I've adopted much more of the college game on Saturdays and watching those. I mean, I still obviously having a relevant team. Like last year, we watched a lot of Giant football last year, and hope to do the same this year with a decent team. But no, you're spot on, man. Spot on with it.
I think the recurring theme with the NFL is stop doing things on Thursday. Stop playing games on Thursday. Yes. Stop doing the draft on Thursday. Just what's the fascination with Thursday? I think if you poll diehard fans, they hate Thursday.
I hate it.
I love how you went global with that, Scott, because that is, it's like what you were saying is that it's got its tentacles into everything now. They've ruined everything good about the NFL. They ruined the Sunday at 1:00 experience. They got to get Nickelodeon involved, and then they make the draft into this fashion show thing. It's just like these tentacles, and they just there's almost, like you said, cheering for the team is about the only thing left because they've almost now captured every part.
Yep. Kill us if they ever slime the number 1 pick when they get up there.
Oh man, can you imagine?
You don't think that's coming? You've not been paying attention.
I mean, I think Cardone, I think you said it on a pod once. I do remember this because I thought it was hilarious because I thought the same thing. Growing up, Sunday night around 8:00, the tick of the 60 minutes clock would come on, and you knew it was PTSD, right? I hear that now, and I still think I got to go do homework now because the weekend was over. You'd have to go do homework because but that was great about it. Like I knew it was over. No, I don't really like Sunday Night Football. I like Monday Night Football. Fine, it's an institution. All of that. We didn't have Sunday Night Football growing up. I don't think it started until the early 90s.
It was probably around that time. But you're right. It was that. And for some reason, I'm always when you heard that 60-minute tick, it could have been September and it still got dark at 4:30 for some reason. Like I know it came on at 7 p.m., but it was like the depths of winter. You had like you said, I hadn't even thought about homework. And if God forbid if the Giants lost a heartbreaker that day, the idea of going to my bedroom and cracking open my history book or math book was absolute. I can feel the anxiety right now.
Exactly.
Just going to do homework. It's so funny though, right? That's when I still hear that 60-minute like stopwatch. It's still absolutely. You're right, dude. It is PTSD, man.
It brings me right back to those times where I'm like, crap. Awful. Now I got to actually do something.
Yeah.
The weekend is over.
Yep.
Mike, pet peeves.
I'm not gonna pass. You can come back to me, but let Cardone go first. I haven't shaped my.
Wait a minute. I didn't ask if Novak had another one. He said he had a few. No. So does he have another one that he wants to share?
Oh, I think we've talked about this when we texted. I loved what John Mara said about Thursday football, and what we've done with the London games and everything else. It's all part of the whole thing about how we have just taken this incredible product and just watered it down to just BS. The whole thing was my issue.
It's not going to get any better, man. It's not going in our favor, guys. You know what I mean? Like nothing the NFL is doing is favoring old school, guys like us. That
I was just going to say, we're going to see a day when we have Tuesday night football, but we saw that during COVID. So we're going to see a day when we have Wednesday night football.
It's coming.
Why not?
It is. Yeah. We're going to have games in foreign languages out in Mongolia and stuff. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah.
Wednesday night football from Mumbai.
That's right. They wanted to flex Thursday night. That's the one. I couldn't remember what it was, but I knew that was the most ridiculous thought that I've ever heard. These Thursday night games are garbage, and they were going to flex a Thursday night game.
Thursday.
Can you imagine the logistics of flexing a Thursday night game?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Like you said, just the travel alone and the scheduling. How the hell are they going to do that?
Well, think about us guys. We're talking about going to Vegas for a Giant game. What if that game is on a Thursday? We're like, we're not going to go, and then they flex it. Or it gets flexed to a Thursday after we're planning on being there on a Saturday. What the hell are we? What do you do?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna. Obviously, I'm sure Novak is aware of this. The Jets also play in Vegas this year, so we may have to take 2 trips and do an all Met Death Road show in Vegas. The Jets and the Giants are out there.
There is no chance they could do that.
How awesome is that?
Back.
Oh, if they did it back to back.
Come on,
you never know.
Makers.
Can you imagine? Just sit out there for a week, and everyone knows you can't be in Vegas for more than 3 days. So can you imagine being out there for 8 straight days? We do the pod on site with the desert behind us, like we're on location.
Here we are, day 6. Still 4 more days to go to the Jets game. I don't know.
Yeah, because you guys would definitely stick around for that.
I'd stay for a Jets game.
Yeah, I'd stay.
Why not? That'd be awesome. I didn't know. I was looking as we're talking here. I was looking at the Jets 23 opponents, which you guys have the extra home game this year. It flips every year now, so you got the uneven amount of games, of course. So now the AFC gets the 9th home game. I think that helped the Giants last year a little bit, but although we had a decent road record also. But yeah, so yeah, we'll get into once the schedule comes out. I know we're gonna do a big recap of that. So.
By the way, Cardone, this is one of your pet peeves here. We're playing the Raiders, who aren't in the NFC East, are they? Or the AFC East?
Wait, AFC East?
Yeah, they're not in the AFC East, so that's the division we're playing.
Extra.
So we are now playing the extra game of the Raiders.
Oh, that's right. Well, yes, they are that extra game. So, yep, it was kind of a pet peeve, but Vegas is cool.
All right, Cardone, pet peeve.
Yeah, I'll stay. Mine's a kind of a quick, short one. And staying with this time of year, mine is around the mock draft. Not even the draft itself, but the mock draft, which is just brutal in itself, right? Just the word mock. What's his name? Babu. Mock. The mock draft. But what I can't stand is when these experts come out and they try to list every team's needs. And when you go down and you scroll through every team, every fucking team has the same exact needs. It's just they're just in different order. There's 8 different positions. How many different positions are on a football team? I mean, what are there, 10 maybe if you count the punter and the kicker? I don't know. And you go down and every team has 7 or 8 needs listed. They're just in different order. A CB, edge, wide receiver, tight end, IOL, DL, the next team, QB, WR, IOLS. Every team has the same fucking needs. It's like you just shuffled the deck of cards and everyone's got, what do you got? Well, I have a 7 of spades. I got an 8. It's like, well, I got the same thing. I just have it in a different order. How can we have the same fucking hand? It's like everyone got dealt the same hand.
I got 2 edges here. Did someone misfeel?
Yeah. I got a pair of edges. What's wild? The IOL? I got one of those. Yep.
I do.
Wait, everybody has a wild card. Everybody has an IOL need. How can that be?
Everyone has an edge need too.
It just waters it down to make it. It's just ridiculous. There's only, I don't even know how many picks most teams have. There's only 7 rounds. So how can you have 8 needs? You don't even have 8 picks.
We could do a pet peeve just on the position changes. It used to be defensive end, defensive tackle.
Yes.
Linebacker covered the entire linebacker crew. Now you have ILB, OLB, MLB, edge.
I literally, this is how off season it is for me, guys. Like I was looking at IOL, and I swear to God, my brain was like, "The hell is that? What am I looking at?" And then I realized, like, oh, inside. Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, Edge. It took me a little while to get used to that. That's been around for a couple years now, or a couple seasons. But now IOL, I don't even know when we added that. It could have been like, who knows? Maybe I haven't even paid attention.
So is an
to that,
IOL both a guard and a center?
I guess.
So you're just
Why
playing
not?
both?
Yeah.
I guess.
Of course,
Well,
Cardone, you've got the fans too, right? That say, "Oh, we can figure out our offensive line needs in round 5 with a guy from Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's great against the run." How do we know? These people have no idea what they're talking about.
Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's
The reason I said that because I actually was watching ESPN before, and they were highlighting some dude from Arkansas Pine Bluff as if I'm supposed to know who this guy was.
Yeah. The draft has lost its way.
That's a pet peeve in myself, because you'll find guys that will just go on and it's like their thing. They talk about the small school guy. Like, hey, you got this defensive lineman from Hofstra. He's going to be the first guy drafted since Wayne Corbett or something. And then if the guy never gets drafted, no one cares. No one remembers that.
No, they'll never follow back up with the story.
Yeah. Man, that's good, you guys. That's awesome. I don't know. Is there a difference between D end and edge? Is there?
Yeah.
Are there still D ends?
There's defensive ends, I guess, but edge guy is like a hybrid linebacker defensive end. The guy that he's basically just there to rush the passer.
Right. Okay.
But why isn't there a right edge and left edge?
LT would be an edge right now. If LT was in the league, he would be an edge.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. That's good. Yeah. Edge. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think Kuiper, he just put out like mock draft 82. Yeah, so every team he's been like, yeah, I called this in mock draft 46. I had this, you just pick every player every team could possibly pick. You just have enough mock drafts you can never miss.
By this time of year, I'm ready for mock drafts to just be done. Just fire up the draft right now.
I mean, I just at a glance, guys, just scroll through really quick, and my math's probably not completely dead on, but 32 teams, right? And like 24 of them need an edge. So come on. Yeah. Are there any good edges that are currently in the league? Everyone needs one.
Does that factor into like salary negotiations when they were like, well, linebackers are averaging $7 million a year. I'm an edge. I'm 10 million. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know why you're even bringing up linebackers here. It's completely irrelevant.
Actually, a good crossover to what Novak said happened with the Giants. Leonard Williams, he got his contract based on a defensive end rather than a defensive tackle, even though he plays defensive tackle.
Yeah, it's a good point. This probably could have been its own, just kind of dovetailing off you guys a little bit. But I saw 2 mock drafts this year, which says I sit here and hate him. I can't not look at them. I have to look at every one. But one of them said Giants reach for a cornerback at this thing, and then they like made fun of the Giants for taking this cornerback at 25. I'm like, they didn't do it. Yeah, what are you talking about? and then the other one said Giants settle for somebody at somewhere, and I'm like, but it's a mock draft. I mean, the Giants. You have to make up stuff to hate on the Giants about? Really? They're gonna reach for this corner. I know it. That's awesome.
Agonizing.
The pet peeve I settled on is gonna be really short, and it might be my most old man whenever. It's way outside of football, but it happened to be today. So I had it on the list for a while, but it bumped up today. So I had a bunch of experiences today. I was out and about more than usual, and when I get out, I've told you guys before, when I get out in public, I just want to get home as fast as I can. It's awful. But I had someone almost hit me, and I like swerve, and I look over, and the guy didn't even know he almost hit me. He's kind of 40% driving, 40% on his phone. And so one of the places I was going, I go to the grocery store, and I'm in the aisle, and there's another guy in there. He's like, well, yeah, I didn't see that. Where did you find that? And I'm like, I'm looking at the stuff I'm holding, and I'm like, what? And, oh no, he's talking on his fucking phone. So, it's just, people got to put these things down. We're going to ruin. I mean, society's already long gone, but it really got under my skin today, and I moved it to the top of the list. I said, conveniently, I have a podcast to bitch about this tonight. So, it's amazing to me. It's amazing. Hey, no, where'd you find that? I'm like looking at the stuff in my hands. I'm like, what? I've got I've got this thing of pretzels and some beef jerky and a 12-pack of Diet Coke. They're all where you can find these anywhere. It's like not that hard.
The beef jerky aisle. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That shopping list was totally made up, by the way. It sounds like I'm going on a road trip.
Yeah. I sort of went off the field too, since it's the off season. There's not a lot of football news, and one of the best things that I've done probably in the last 4 months is I don't watch the news very much anymore, because it seems when I do watch the news, I keep looking at stuff and I'm going, what the hell are they talking about? So someone said to me about a month ago, if you watch the news, you cannot go a half hour without seeing a story about either race or about LGBTQ. And I firmly believe that to be true. But then now I'm starting to see things on the news that I think they're from The Onion. Like there will be a story and I'm like, wait a minute. Is this The Onion TV or something? No. It's actually a local affiliate or something. So I think I texted you guys about this because I was late to the game on this. I really thought this was a joke. But digital blackface. So if a person that is not a minority posts a meme, a JPEG, whatever it is, of a person of color, this is now called digital blackface. And I keep thinking to myself, is this a joke? Like if I said something, I used to, when I was in college, at times I would have a party with Public Enemy playing with a clock on it. I'd be like, yeah, boy. Was that frowned upon back then? I wasn't in blackface. I was just
not back then, but
I was just being Flavor Flav.
Mm-hmm.
So if I send a meme to my college buddies that says, yeah, boy, I'm violating some sort of racial code.
So I'll give you an example of how guilty I am of this. Is I went back through my phone when I first heard this, because I have a little meme that I send to everybody at some point or another. You guys have probably gotten it, but it's an old Dave Chappelle stand-up thing when he goes, "Gotcha, bitch."
Yeah, I remember that.
I send that thing around like I have a shotgun full of them. Whenever I mess it with somebody, "Gotcha, bitch." Yeah. So that's I got.
If I send a Seinfeld meme, which you guys know, Seinfeld memes are a staple of this group, at least.
Sure.
That's okay. But if I were to send something that's not Bill Cosby or something, is that digital blackface? I just don't get the rules.
I don't know the rules.
Cardone did Jackie Childs earlier today.
Right.
How's that? Is that?
I guess so. I don't know the rules. I really don't.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Like you said, Mike,
I don't play.
It's tough to that's great. Nothing good. Used to be like nothing good happens after midnight, when you're out and about. Hisman's right. You can't now just leave in the house. It's like nothing good happens out there.
No,
I compare it to like a video game. I swear to God, it's like a live video game where as you're driving down the street, pedestrians come out of nowhere, shopping carts fly into your video. You never know what's coming. It's a video game out there.
And everyone's
got to be on a swivel
to their face. And I forgot the thing that finally set me off. That was actually the part that made me think it should be a pet peeve. I got home, I sat down, I turned the news on, and the reporter was giving a report from the field and reading off her phone while she was giving the report.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that had just gone over my head and I'd not noticed it before, but because of the things that happened to me when I was out and about, I was like, everybody, even reporters on TV, have that stupid phone just glued to their face.
Brutal.
I keep asking myself, what's the end game on this though? Like, why? Like, what is the point of the stories? And I mean, we're a lighthearted podcast, so I don't want to get too deep into it. I just keep asking myself though, why am I hearing it? Why is digital blackface even a thing?
I think we're already too far deep on this one.
No idea.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah,
Well, I'll go one further since we talk about sports all the time. The whole thing about having men compete in women's sports, this was covered by Ladybugs. What was it? What was the movie with Rodney Dangerfield and the kid who played on the soccer team? Was that Ladybugs?
I think it was Ladybugs.
It
I think it was Ladybugs. So
Yeah.
in Ladybugs, it was universally accepted that this kid was playing on a girls' team. This is not allowed. This doesn't happen. This is against the rules. He has to be all contrite and slink away. In today's day and age, you could be a man, a terrible man at swimming, and at least in your own gender, go into the girls' field, dominate, win all sorts of awards, and you can't say to this person, you can't do this, even though you're not really a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more comfortable talking shit in this arena that we're in right now. I'm not gonna, but I'm much more comfortable.
No,
but we did like watching Caitlin Clark, right? I mean, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Scott, I thought you were being sarcastic. I was like, oh God, what's happening? I had to go all over the internet and find out. I was like, oh no, he actually meant it's a cool story. Which it was.
Oh, so you really didn't know what she was about?
No, I had no idea. The first time I heard her name was when you texted it over, and I was like, but first thing that came to my head when you said Caitlin Clark, I don't know why, but this is a trans woman playing basketball and dominating somewhere. And that's the first thing that came into my head when I heard it. And when I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. And then I was like, oh no, she's actually just awesome. Okay.
Nah,
perfect.
dominant.
Yeah.
And she was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Novak was all over the girls' tournament this year, which I think many people, a lot of sports fans thought that tournament was better than the men's tournament.
I honestly did think that the Final Four of the women's tournament was better than the men's tournament. I could have given a crap about the men's Final Four. It was boring. The first round was great, and after that, I just lost interest. I don't know if it's a sign of the times for me or what, but I'm more into watching golf at this point than watching just a boring Final Four. It was just.
Can you imagine though, Danny Hurley showing up on the sideline with like feathers on his shoulder? By the way, I'm sitting there watching. I watched some of the women's final mainly because Novak texted about how great Caitlin Clark was doing, and all I see in the 5 minutes that I'm watching, I see the women's coach from LSU like stalking the ref in her like bright sequined outfit, calling for a foul. They don't call a technical on her for ranting and raving at the ref, but yet Caitlin Clark tosses the ball casually behind her and she gets teed up. It was like
I saw that play.
4-minute thing of each other. I was like, all right, I can see where this is going.
Yeah, that was crazy. The officiating, well, that's what I think one of us said, like, the officiating is bad in every sport, universally.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Like baseball now with that pitch clock thing.
Oh my God.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I can't decide if I like this or not because the games are now 2.5 hours, 3 hours, or whatever it is. They are shorter, which I do like, but I don't know. I'm watching a game and they're calling a ball like it was taking too long, and I'm like, what? I don't know. Yeah. I can't decide on that one if I like it or not.
It's just a weird. Yeah, it's weird.
I think if you take the interpretation out, like I don't mind the pitch clock itself, but now they're calling balls because the pitcher's not looking at the batter first. Like you have to make eye contact with the guy. Like
that's a thing.
Isn't that taunting?
Yeah. Now that's
a roughing the passer call in the NFL. I mean, I know that.
Yeah, it's a roughing the passer.
Why did we have to give like officiating more power and control in professional sports? That's what Major League Baseball did, is give these guys even more control and power to decide. It's just,
and they of course immediately abuse it immediately.
Of course,
and interpret it wrong. And it's like officials are in every sport. The people that want to be officials, they're so literal about everything. Like they can't understand what the meaning behind the rule is, why that rule's there. You know, they've just got to be like, no, it says this, like Scott mentioned about eye contact. I didn't see eye contact. Leslie Nielsen back there giving the balls and strikes.
Enrico Caruso.
Palazzo.
Enrico Palazzo.
Enrico Palazzo.
Enrico Palazzo.
Strike.
So I think we touched upon. We did have another. It was sort of a tweaking question from our resident Cowboy fan, Brian Peacock. I think we covered the draft part, but he wants to know if Michael Irvin's innocent.
That was the big takeaway from his question that I got as well. I've not obviously paid any attention to that.
No, I haven't.
I know there's things Michael Irvin has done in his past that he's not innocent of, and he probably should be in jail. So lock him up now. It's like they did to OJ. They just found another reason to put him in jail. Michael Irvin belongs in jail. He did something in his past where he belongs in jail.
Probably. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if he is or not. I can't even say. I haven't even followed the story. I don't know.
No.
He apparently did something on a hotel camera, whispered to some chick, and then she claimed he sexually harassed her.
Yeah, it's probably BS, but who knows? I'd have to look into it more, which I'm not going to spend any time doing. But because I didn't read the story, I read the headline, and you read a headline like that, and you're like, of course. You know what LT, like right after he retired, kept like every 18 months getting busted for crack and say, I was set up. You could stop reading the stories. You just saw the headline. You're like, oh yeah, LT, there he goes.
I mean, I just kind of hope he's guilty because he's a horrible commentator. I mean, he's terrible.
If it gets him off the air, Novak, great point. I will testify against
him. He's so
him.
bad. Like, I don't understand how he keeps getting jobs. He's terrible.
That's an awesome point. If it would keep him off the air, I would falsify testimony to put him in jail.
The big takeaway I took from the end of last year is all the shade that Tony Romo got as a commentator, where there's so many worse commentators out there. I'm not a fan of Tony Romo, believe me. The guy shrieks, he screams, he gets really excited. But it's almost like they're trying to run him off the telecast, acting like he's not prepared, this, that, and the other thing. You don't hear that about any other announcers.
And there are several not prepared.
Yeah.
I liked Romo's shtick at first. It has worn on me a little bit. I don't enjoy it hardly as much as I used to. But you're right, Scott. There's plenty worse out there than Romo.
If I were to promote, go ahead, Novak.
I mean, I kind of like the guys that don't come up through the NFL ranks better. Like, I like Andrew Catalon a lot. I like some of the guys that just have a good voice that talk about the game, that don't try to inject a lot of personality into the whole thing. And I agree with you, Mike. I liked it at first, but he's overdoing it. Like they've told him, hey, we love it when you get really excited about things. And you go, ooh, they're going to try this. And now he's doing it too much where it gets so annoying.
Yeah.
I say this now, but if you do this, then I'm going to get annoyed down the road. Clone Kevin Harlan 12 times.
Yeah. He's the best.
Love Kevin Harlan. Even basketball, football,
he's the best.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, he's by far the best.
I think you're right, though, Scott. We'd probably live to regret it because clones tend to suck. We're in the position we're in now because after Madden, all the networks just started hiring as many fat guys as they could scoop up and just said, be outrageous, and then you can't. You just can't clone the really good stuff sometimes.
The good old days. Madden Summerall, Mark Bright.
Don Criqui.
Criqui.
Criqui, who did every Jet game ever. And Marv Albert.
That was great. Oh, yeah. Marv.
Who was always teamed up? Dick Enberg and Merlin Jones, right?
Merlin Olsen.
Merlin Olsen. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, they were great. I mean, those are the NBC guys. They were fantastic back then.
A little known fact, he's the grandfather of the Olsen twins.
Is he really?
No.
Is he really?
Gotcha, bitch.
Come on, man. You can't do that. That's
he might be. He could be.
He was also Jonathan Garvey on Little House on the Prairie in Walnut Grove.
Yeah. He had an in showbiz. I might be right about this.
Father Murphy. You guys got anything else this week?
Just waiting for the draft, waiting for the schedule to come out. The draft's Novak made a good point. I mean, I used to love the Saturday afternoon, but we'll watch it because we're NFL fans and it's what we do. And obviously the first round, but you're right. The first round is cool, but I won't even watch the Friday night. I won't even do the second round and the rest of the weekend. I really won't. I'll honestly look at my phone and see who the Giants drafted because at that point I don't watch enough to know who these players are. So it's at that point I'm looking like what position did we get, you know? So, but I'll watch Thursday night for sure. And then after that is of course the when the schedule release is actually one of my favorite nights of the year, to be honest, because that's everyone kind of scrambles immediately to think about travel and that kind of stuff. So I love that. It's usually like what now, May? It used to be April. Now it's early May. The schedule comes out.
Yeah.
What I like about when we do the draft recap is that we are unabashedly saying to ourselves, we're not going to fake like we know who the guy from CW Post that we drafted is. Right. Like I remember Cardone, like rounds 4 through the end last year. It's like, I have no idea who the fuck these guys are.
I don't know. Yeah. But I think I made a pet peeve about it. I was making a joke about the cameras on the Cleveland Brown fans and like the 7th with the 232nd pick, the Cleveland Browns select Claude Zanarovich. Yeah. The guy looking at the camera. I'm like, come on, dude. Why not just look? How about looking at the camera and being like, who the fuck? Why? Zanarovich? The fuck is he from? From Quinnipiac? Who?
Quinnipiac.
Like, and you see the guy like, to the camera. Stop it, dude.
You know what I did learn? I heard this on the radio today. They offer people that stick around for the last day or two or whatever it is, tickets to the following year's draft if they stay for the cameras.
Is that right?
Really?
Yeah, that's what they said today. I mean, I heard on WFAN they were like, they would offer you tickets if you stuck around. Who would sit there through that? Like, can you imagine?
Wow.
Where is the draft this year?
Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, the draft is Oh, go ahead, Cardo.
No, I was going to say, does that have anything to do with the Super Bowl champions? Are they going to move it to? Is it going to be where I don't know. Is that just
I think it's random. I do
random.
Think it's random.
Okay.
Yeah. If they're going to do
that,
they
had it, in the Felt Forum or wherever that was in New York. If you ever watched like the documentary of the '83 draft, like that's the way it should be with Jets and Giants fans up in the rafters, like Jets fans burying, going like this when they drafted, Ken O'Brien, and the Giants fans, of course, everything's perfect. But yeah, that's the way it should be.
Remember the old helmet phones with the helmet phones? With the 1980s like Rolodex on the table there, and it was I swear to God there were ashtrays with live cigarettes going like on live television.
I remember, man. This is an example of the NFL getting something right before getting it terribly wrong. Was when ESPN first came out, they televised the draft during the middle of the day on a Wednesday, and nobody cared. I would stay home sick from school on that day with a yellow notebook pad and write down all my friends' favorite teams and their picks. They used to love that I do that for them. So that started catching on, and then they moved it to Saturday and just made it, I thought, brought it to the level it should be.
Yep.
And it stayed
100%.
there for a while, and now they just have, again, Novak, too far. They've just gone too far.
Way too far.
I mean, you could even make the case that, if they did Friday, rounds 1 and 2,
sure,
fine. I get that, right? Make it a spectacle. Fine.
Friday night,
Friday night. Thursday, it just, I don't know. It's disappointing.
They start at 8, and I say start loosely because they have to do the, they bring the fan out. They have to bring, a singer out to do the national anthem. And by the end of the night, it's 32 teams or whatever. It's 11:30. What the hell did you do? One night it took that long to get to 32?
It's a show. Yeah, it's an event.
But the funny thing is, we're all complaining about it, but we'll be sitting there watching the whole damn thing. In 2 weeks when that thing comes on Thursday.
But I won't watch anymore on Saturday and Sunday. I used to watch on Saturday and Sunday. Now I don't watch on Saturday and Sunday.
No.
You see the scroll.
I won't watch the middle late rounds. I won't. Yeah.
It's funny. You got that in the background. Like they don't even televise the draft the rest of the time. They just have the scroller going with the ding, 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 ding. Now drafting, now drafting.
Yeah. They got Susie Colbert doing a special interest story on some guy who hasn't been picked yet.
I mean, I'll be driving around looking at my phone, almost hitting people with my car. waiting for the
There you
Jets to
go.
come up next, and then I'll run to a TV to watch.
Yeah, right.
Giants end up picking whenever they do in the first round on a commercial.
Commercial.
It's almost
Yeah,
like they fuck with Giant fans on that.
Yeah.
Every year.
They're out to get you, Scott.
Unless we're number one, unless we're the first team. That's it.
the only way we would get any good press. Yeah, the draft is a draft, man. You have to watch. Like
Yep.
Cardone said.
Yeah.
I might even be the first guy. First thing I might have to do is go to YouTube and start looking at clips of the guy we draft. I won't have any idea.
No idea. CW Post. That's great. Yeah.
CW Post.
Last guy we had from CW Post was on the Scab team back in like the 83 season?
Oh, the Scabs. Remember
Was he
that?
the guy
87.
Was he the guy that threw that pass?
He was the
guy that
quarterback.
that
He was
caught
the quarterback, but I don't know where the receiver is from, but he was the quarterback that threw it. We completely mailed it in back then. We did not prepare for the Scab game. Whatever else did. We had guys from CW Post. Everyone else had guys from Alabama, Michigan, places like that.
Remember LT was playing tight end in those games?
Scab games were counting in the standings. I mean, what a fucking disaster. Think about that.
Stupid.
So stupid.
And no one ever mentions that. Like when the Redskins got the Super Bowl that year, no one ever says that wasn't a real season, And talking about the draft, here's the other thing that happened in the NFL that I can't believe a team doesn't get more shit for. Do you guys remember when Minnesota missed their fucking first round draft pick?
Yes.
They got leapfrogged by another team.
They ran up there with the card like behind them or something, didn't they, or whatever? How great is that? How many holes would you punch in your wall if that was your team?
Oh my God. That could possibly be the last straw. Yeah, it was nothing that happened on the field. They can't get a 3x5 card 25 yards.
They're picking up the helmet, the phone. It's not working. There's no tone. There's no tone. There's no dial tone.
Yeah, well, at least they had to run a card up. That was at least cool. Now they get scan a QR code to get their pick in or something.
Yeah,
probably.
Hang on, I can't get online. I have to authenticate.
Oh, Wi-Fi's out. I can't get the pick in.
Authenticate again. There it is. I used to love a little index card.
The index card. Pete Rozelle would look at it, and
I miss the old days, man.
Guys, got anything else tonight?
No,
right.
Just wait for the draft.
So this was the draft preview. We'll be back with a draft recap. And then after that, we're going to go, we'll probably do a season preview right before the season starts. So this kicks off officially season 4 of 3 Giant Fans with a Jet fan. So Novak, welcome. We appreciate having you here.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, look for changes to come before the season starts. And hit us up at @angry_3 on Twitter for questions like Brian Peacock does all the time from the Dallas perspective. But I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm just waiting for it to get here because I like I said, I'm already sick of the mock drafts. I'm ready for it to be done.
Let's go.
And enough talking about Aaron Rodgers. Let's go.
Oh.
If it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, we would lose a big part of our show, though. We spend, even as Giant fans, we spend probably 5 minutes a show talking about the dick.
Well, guess what? Now that I'm on and he's going to be a Jet quarterback, guess what? You probably going to have at least 10 minutes.
That's going to keep rolling.
That's going to be a weird dynamic, man. I'm telling you.
It is.
I think we were like 20 some episodes in when we had the first one where we didn't mention Jason Witten. So we're good there.
Witten.
All right.
Crush.
All right, everybody.
All right, dude.
Have a good
All
one.
right.
Have a good one all.